Story 1. The Vanishing Trick-or-Treater. It was Halloween night in a quiet suburban neighborhood. Kids were dressed in costumes, running from house to house collecting candy. Among them was a little boy in a ghost costume, walking alone. One woman, handing out candy, noticed something strange. The boy never spoke, never lifted his mask, and never seemed to leave footprints on the damp sidewalk. As the night went on, fewer and fewer trick-or-treaters were out, but the ghost boy remained. A concerned parent, seeing the boy alone, asked where his parents were. The child didn't respond. When the parent turned to look for help, the boy was gone, vanished without a trace. The next day, an old woman in the neighborhood mentioned a boy who had died years ago in a hit-and-run accident on Halloween night. His parents never found justice, and every year, on Halloween, a child in a ghost costume appears, always silent, always alone. Story 2. The wrong costume. A group of friends went to a Halloween party at a large, old house rumored to be haunted. The theme was classic horror villains, and everyone dressed as their favorite scary characters. One of the guests noticed a man in an old-fashioned scarecrow costume standing in the corner, unmoving, never talking. At first, people thought it was part of the party's decorations. But as the night went on, different guests felt uneasy whenever they walked near the scarecrow. Some even claimed they saw him move slightly when no one was watching. Finally, the host decided to ask who was in the costume. As they reached to tap him on the shoulder, the figure collapsed onto the floor. Inside was not a person, but an actual rotting corpse, dressed in tattered clothes, with a grinning skull exposed beneath the straw. The authorities later discovered that the body had gone missing from a nearby graveyard. How it ended up at the party, nobody knows. Story 3. The House That Watches. Every year, a group of teenagers dared each other to visit an abandoned house at the end of the street. On Halloween night, they finally worked up the courage to go inside. The house had been abandoned for decades, but rumors of flickering lights and ghostly whispers made it a local legend. As they stepped inside, dust filled the air, and the wooden floor creaked beneath their feet. They found old furniture, a dusty mirror, and most disturbingly, photographs of themselves. Pictures they had never taken, dated that very night. Panic set in as they realized the house was not abandoned at all. They heard footsteps upstairs. Before they could run, the door slammed shut on its own. Only one of them was brave enough to turn around, and he saw someone watching them from the top of the stairs. Story 4. The Halloween broadcast. A college student stayed home on Halloween night, flipping through radio stations while studying. Suddenly, a strange broadcast interrupted the regular programming. A static-filled voice whispered warnings about the ones who walk unseen, and described exactly what the student was wearing and what room they were in. Terrified, they checked the windows and doors. Everything was locked. The broadcast continued, telling a chilling story about a girl who didn't listen to the warnings and suffered the consequences. Then the voice said, "She's right behind you." The student's heart stopped. They slowly turned around. Nothing was there. The radio crackled one last time before the regular station returned. But for the rest of the night, they swore they could hear soft breathing right behind them. Story 5. The Cemetery Dare. A group of friends dared each other to spend the night in an old cemetery. They brought blankets, flashlights, and snacks, treating it like an adventure. Around midnight, one of them noticed a woman in a white dress standing near a headstone, staring at them. They nervously waved, but she didn't react. Then, without warning, she floated toward them, her eyes completely black. Panic took over. They grabbed their things and ran toward the entrance, but no matter which way they turned, the gate seemed farther away. One friend tripped and felt cold hands grab their ankle. By some miracle, they finally made it out. But when they looked back, the woman was gone. The next day, they looked up the cemetery's history and found out that a woman had been buried alive there centuries ago. Some say her spirit still looks for a way out. Story 6. The Masked Trick-or-Treater. A young couple was giving out candy when they noticed a masked trick-or-treater standing on the sidewalk. Unlike the other kids, he didn't approach the house or speak. He just stood still, staring. After an hour, the couple decided to call the police. Just as they picked up the phone, there was a knock on the window, right next to them. The figure was now pressed against the glass, his mask revealing hollow, dark eyes. The husband ran outside, but the figure had vanished into thin air. When they checked the security footage, there was nothing, no sign of anyone ever being there. Story 7. The last phone call. A girl was babysitting on Halloween night when the house phone started ringing over and over. Every time she answered, there was nothing but static. Finally, on the last call, a raspy voice whispered, "Check the children." Heart pounding, she ran upstairs and found the bedroom door wide open. The kids were supposed to be sleeping, but their beds were empty. Just then, the phone rang again. This time, the voice laughed and said, "Too late." Story 8. The Halloween mannequin. A small town had a Halloween display competition every year, and one house always had the most realistic decorations. The family went all out, setting up lifelike mannequins dressed as ghosts, vampires, and monsters. One year, a visitor noticed something strange. One of the mannequins had real, glassy eyes. When they told the homeowner, the man turned pale and told them to leave immediately. Later that night, police arrived and discovered that one of the decorations was not a mannequin at all. It was a missing person, perfectly posed among the props. The homeowner swore they had no idea how it got there. To this day, no one knows who put it there or why. Final thoughts. Halloween is a time for fun and scares, but sometimes, the things we fear the most aren't just stories. From vanishing trick-or-treaters to creepy encounters that defy explanation, these terrifying tales prove that some nightmares are very real. Which story gave you the biggest chills? Let us know in the comments. And if you love real horror stories, make sure to subscribe for more spine-tingling tales.